Hi, I'm Ali and welcome to the channel. In today's video I'm going to take you through some of the items that I bought from TEMU to do a kickstart to a very small business so that you can get to see what those products might look like, and also I'm going to show you how I might use them to create something a little bit unique. If this is something you are interested in taking a look at, then make sure you stick around. In my last video you would have seen me create a shopping cart that was made up of a number of items to try and kickstart a small business where you could start selling products online through either Etsy or eBay, or maybe even in a craft market. By using TEMU, these items came to around $109 Australian, and there was plenty in that cart in order to make quite a range of different products that you could package up and sell onwards. Now the items that I'm going to show you today aren't necessarily the ones that were in the cart during the last video. Now I'm not going to apologize for that because I didn't want to overconsume and buy more stuff when I already had enough here. I have enough in my kit that I purchased from TEMU last year that I can absolutely show you what it looks like. I can show you how it's used. You can get a feel for that. You get to see what that looks like without me having to go and purchase even more products. And when I did purchase these items last year, I did have in mind of creating some things that I could potentially sell online. So I'm going to try that out with the products that I'll show you today. So we're going to head across into the craft room. I'm going to show you some of those items that I've purchased. We're going to have a bit of a play with them, and we might even upload some of them to eBay and just see how they go. All right, so let's have a look at some of these items, shall we? So the first one is going to be the little warmer. It came with a spoon, it's the warmer, and this is a tea light that I've purchased outside of the order that I had, that you kind of sit it over the top and it gets it all going. Like I said, the order that I did is a little bit different to the one that you would have seen me put through on TEMU, but some of the items are very similar. This is the other item that I bought. It's just a ceramic tile. You could just use a normal tile at home, but I wanted something small that could fit into the drawer, and that allows you to pour your wax and stamp your impression into this. So I just wanted to keep the kit together in a tub so to make it nice and easy. When it comes to the melts, I bought different bags of melts, and they come like this, packaged in this way. So these aren't in any specific shape or anything like that, so these are just your octagonal melts. You need probably about 5 of those to make a seal, maybe 5 or 6, so you do get a few out of this particular packet. I sometimes see these seals in different shapes like hearts and flowers and that kind of thing, but at the end of the day they're all just going to get melted down. They look pretty in the tub, but unless you're actually selling the melts yourself to people, you don't really need to worry about having those shapes. So I got a few different colours, but I tried to keep them pretty much in the themes like love and wedding and that kind of thing. This is one of the red ones. I've used some of those already, and then I bought a champagne one as well, so just a couple there. Others I got were these. So I do have quite a few melts. I didn't buy any that were in the case where you had lots of different colours. That might be something that I will add into my order once I've gotten through these ones. So they are the melts. Now the stamps themselves are all pretty good. So these just screw on and off. So obviously you're working with one design at a time. So we have the rose. So a couple that I purchased had the handles, so I've got a couple of different handles so I can have 2 going at the one time. And I ended up getting a flat one for another technique that I saw online that I thought was really cool. So I do have quite a number of different ones. So there's the bee that I ended up taking out of the cart. There's a leaf. All right, so I do have quite a few of those in my kit. I went a little bit berserk So some really pretty ones that you can purchase, and really that's just up to you, what your personal preference is, or if you're trying to create things for a certain market. So it's entirely up to you what you decide to purchase. There was something that I did purchase that you didn't see me put in the cart, and I don't know that I'd entirely recommend these. I found these really difficult to use. Basically, you pour into those and then stamp and it creates the shape. And I've had varying degrees of success when I've been mucking around with these. I find that I spend more time putting the wax back into the melt to try again. So maybe I just haven't mastered the art of those just yet. This is the powder that you would have seen in the cart. So this is the wax seal melt that you sort of rub, and then you rub it over the top, and it provides a bit of a shimmer for any of those areas in your stamp that has that raised outline. And these can come in a range of different colours. So I did have the silver, okay, there's a blue. So this one was the one that I had in the cart that I showed you on the video. Again, you can pick these up at the makeup store. I did pick up these ones here just to try as well. So they are more like, they're for nails, I believe. But if you, and they wind out, hang on a second, there we go. And you can wind them up and they leave a bit of shimmer dust on there. So you dab them in and then you can dab them on your stamp. I wanted something that I knew was going to stay on the seal. I tried a range of textures. Now I saw online people were using gold pens and that kind of thing, but they didn't, they kept rubbing off. And with something like this, I mean, you want it to be able to stay, but I found that it did smudge off. These aren't too bad. But this is an example of a blue melt with that silver powder that I just showed you. Okay, so you can see it does actually leave quite a nice surface on there. Yep. For packaging, these were the items that I had to add to the cart. Now these are little double-sided adhesive pieces that you put on the back of your wax melt, and then you can peel that off and you can put it onto your packaging so that whoever's bought it can just peel them off, and then it has a sticky base for them to be able to use it on a project. So these are quite important to have if you are planning on selling these on to people so that they're able to use them without having to add their own glue on the back. So they were definitely placed in the cart as the extra. These were the type of plastic pocket that were in the cart as well. So these just have a piece that you pull and you fold it down on itself. So the internal part to this is going to depend on you yourself and your marketing. For example, I made up these cards. I was going to call my seals Whispered Notes. And here I've got 12 wax seals, $10. I saw this kind of design for somebody else's, and that might fit within one of these. From memory, I think I made it for this size, yep. And then you would put in your 12 wax seals. So I was just going to do sort of like generic wax seals in this lot. And then you'd be able to fold them over, package them up and send them on. But you could fold them in half. Actually, I'll use these folded up, make that smaller packet. So basically, you would end up with half of that inside the packet, say. You're gonna have to imagine with me here for the moment. And then you would put 3 separate seals. So let me just pick out some randoms here. I'm not happy with these ones, but okay. And then you would sell 3 seals in a packet, and that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. I want to dress them up, make them look really different and unique, and just sell 3 in a packet at the one time. But I want to do interesting things with the seals to make them look a little bit more interesting for the purchaser. So that's going to be my plan. The only thing that I don't have here is the thank you sticker and also the pink padded bags. So that would be something that I would need to order so that I could send any of these out. But if I'm going with the smaller size, they could just be sent in a normal envelope with a bit of protection around them. So that kind of gives you an idea of the materials. But now we want to go and do some creating. So that's going to be our next thing to do. You might be asking, why am I putting these back in? And that's because they're a bit of a disaster. I'm going to have a little go at redoing those again. And I've decided I'm going to do some Valentine's Day ones. So I've got the rose, heart, and save the date. You can use a bowl with some ice in it, which I might just go and get. Okay, I am going to speed up the video while I'm talking to you now, because if I had to let you wait while the wax melted, I think you'd probably go a bit insane. It took a little while. So what you see me here doing now, I'm just going to try and do a wax melt over a bit of ribbon. And I felt that the colour was a bit off when I looked at the red, but I went ahead anyway just to experiment, because there's a bit of experimentation here. I realised that the tea light that I put in there, I hadn't cut the wick down, so there's a little bit of a tip. Make sure you cut the wick down, otherwise you'll burn the underside of your spoon. You can see the spoon's got a bit of black there, so I had to get rid of that and start again. So popping in those wax melts. If you do make a mistake, you can just chop up the wax melt and pop it back in there. It's not a big deal. If you are doing what I'm doing and you're putting it over paper or perhaps even ribbon, you won't be able to reuse it again. You saw that I just had some toothpicks there, so they're great for mixing. And I went into my craft stash and found a whole bunch of stuff that I might try and add to the wax seals as I make them. So I'm just chopping up some more in advance here. It was really just the one seal, and I think I popped in a little white pellet as well, just to see if I could get a little bit of different colour coming through. So I'm just prepping up a little bit of the ribbon before I go ahead and change my mind, which you'll see coming up in a little while. So giving the wax a little bit of a soft stir, don't stir too much, otherwise you put bubbles in it. And taking my stamp here, and you'll notice there that there's a very big different colour problem there. So that one was no good. Yeah, so if you do heat your wax up too hot as well, and you find that it's getting lots of bubbles in it, it's because it's too hot. So you might need to take the spoon off for a little bit and let it cool down a little. Otherwise you'll end up with sort of like a bubbly consistency to it. So I'm just letting mine sit out for a little bit to get a bit cooler and get rid of some of those bubbles. So here I've changed up the ribbon. I decided to make little banners out of this ribbon and instead put the wax at the top rather than have a folded piece. So just pouring the wax onto the ribbon here with the seal, letting it cool down, and the ice definitely helped, the ice pack that I'm putting my stamp onto. Even though this one kind of worked, I didn't like the impression because you can't really see that it has that outside circular edge. So you will, if you were thinking about doing this as a bit of a hobby or a startup, there is going to be a little bit of trial and error and hit and miss until you get to know the equipment and how much wax you need, all that kind of stuff. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of if you're thinking about that or thinking about starting something like this. Alright, so time to try again. So just making sure that I've got the wax nice and blended through. I think I put a little bit more in this one as well, so I had a nice big pour. Try and get those edges. There you go, you can see it squishing out to the outside of that stamp now. Getting some more wax in and prepared while that's cooling for a little bit. And that was a much better impression with that one. So I continued on, and I'm only making, I just pulled the old one off, so I am going to reuse that ribbon. I'm just making 3 of each of the different designs I'm going to show you today, so I'm not making a huge big bulk lot. So I'll do 3 of these with the ribbon, and then I'll show you a different technique for the other two. For the next one, I chose some white wax melts, and I'm going to be using a little bit of some of that glitter confetti stuff that you saw. So yeah, they need to put the little pour on both sides. It would make it a lot easier for me. So just putting a little bit of confetti sort of in there. And then I'm using a diamond tool here just to pick up some little pieces to press into the wax. I wasn't happy with that one. Back in it goes. So again, a little bit of trial and error with these ones as well. It's easy enough to pick off the little gem hearts that I had put into the bottom of it. But that diamond picker tool, that was a lifesaver in this situation. It was absolute lifesaver. Just getting the wax up to melting point again. Try for a second time and make sure you've got everything prepared. If you're going to do something like this, make sure you've got all your tools and bits and pieces ready, at the ready. And there they go, the little hearts on the end. Preparing some wax for the next one, and that is much, much better. Now these aren't finished yet. I'll do some finishing off toward the end. And for the third and final wax seal in this video, I've just got some pearls down there. I'm going to use my diamond tool again. I've just poured out some of the gold and I mixed a bit of white in with it. And I'm just going to push some of those pearls in. Now I did end up changing this. I didn't like the way that it looked, so I did pull it all apart when it was finished, and I retried it by just putting just a couple of these in. You'll see when I pull up the stamp, it looked like it had the pox or something. Look, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I was after, so I had to do it. I redid it again. So I re-poured this time and then used the diamond tool to press in 3 of those little pearls at the bottom just to give it a little bit of an accent. Nothing too major. And I was much happier with the way this turned out. I just used my Cricut sort of spatula just to help ease it off the stone there. So they are the 3 different designs. So now let's look at how I dress them up a little bit more. So to dress these up, I'm using the powders that I had purchased in the cart. So I'm just using the applicator to go around and pretty much just paint in the ridge on this first seal. So this is the one that had the little red confetti heart in it. So I did that with all 3 of the white seals. And I think this dressed them up really nicely. It really defined that edge on those. I did get a little bit on the middle of that, but that's okay. And one of the little hearts fell off. So I have to admit I did use a little bit of super glue just to get that back on again. And super glue comes into play a little bit later down the track, as you'll soon see. For the roses, I just put my applicator on its side and just buffed up just on the actual rose itself. I didn't do around the edge of these ones. And they came up a real treat. I love the look of those. I did think about doing around the outside. And then for the third one, I used the other applicator that I showed you in this video, and just with the gold, just to redefine just the save the date on those. And that worked out really well as well. I did a little bit around the outside too. Just gave it just a little bit more of that extra gold shine. Now that I had these all ready, I had gone into Canva and I printed out some of the smaller cards that could fit inside the plastic pockets. Before I could do that though, I had to take the wax seal stickers and pop these on the back. Now you don't peel these off to put onto the card in the packets. You have to actually glue them on so that if the purchaser takes them, they can peel the seal off and that piece of backing plastic that you see there stays stuck to the packaging, if you get my drift. Okay, so they're all done. These were the other little cards that I made up. I just changed the color to match in with the project a little bit better. And I tried some these glue dots. I don't know what was wrong with the glue dots and why they weren't going to stick to these backings. It was so frustrating, but I just could not get that to stick. And then I tried some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to see whether I could get those to get it to stick down, but they weren't working either. So I ended up just grabbing out my super glue in the end and went, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to put a little bit of super glue on the back of each one and glue them down to the piece of paper as it is. So super glue seemed a bit extreme, but it was something I had on hand. So once these were done, I then popped them into the packaging, and this is what they ended up looking like here. So it's probably not the best photo. It was very glaring outside. I'll do a lot better job of the photography, but you get the idea about what the packets could look like. And if you choose to do something like this where you have 3 separate seals, I mean, the opportunities and the ideas are endless for these types of seals. And they can be used on things like scrapbook pages or craft projects or in journals, all sorts of things. So there's quite a lot of crafting that you can do with these seals. Thanks for sticking around and watching the video today. Hopefully this has given you a little bit of encouragement as to how you might get started in a little bit of a business idea of your own. If you'd like to see more videos like this, where I do put in an order with TEMU to try and kickstart a small business, then please let me know in the comments what ideas you have that you'd like to see me try out for you. Don't forget to like this video if it's been something that you've found interesting, and I will see you in our next video. Bye for now.